What you are about to hear is not speculation. It is not clickbait. What is unfolding right now in the Middle East is the most dangerous military conflict the world has seen in a generation. 32 days into a full-scale war between Iran, Israel, and the United States, and the situation is escalating by the hour. Missiles are still flying. Oil tankers are being hit. Tech giants like Apple, Microsoft, and Google are now being directly threatened, and a critical diplomatic deadline is counting down as we speak. If you are not fully up to speed on what is happening, this is the only breakdown you need to watch right now. Stay with us until the end, because every detail in this update matters. Let us begin at the very beginning, because understanding how we got here is essential to understanding where this is heading. For years, Iran and Israel fought what military experts call a shadow war. Assassinations of nuclear scientists, drone strikes, cyber attacks, and proxy battles fought through groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen. The world watched this tension build slowly, like pressure behind a sealed door. Then on February 28, 2026, that door was blown off its hinges. In the early hours of that morning, the United States and Israel launched a massive coordinated surprise strike on Iran. The operation, codenamed Operation Roaring Lion by the Israeli military, was unlike anything the region had ever seen. The Israeli Air Force deployed approximately 200 fighter jets in a single wave, striking more than 500 military targets inside western and central Iran. Over 1,200 bombs were dropped in the first 24 hours alone. It was the largest combat sortie in Israeli Air Force history. Simultaneously, American forces launched dozens of their own strikes from aircraft carriers and bases positioned across the broader region. The targets were not random. They were precisely selected after months of intelligence gathering. Iranian air defense networks, ballistic missile launch sites, missile manufacturing facilities, naval installations, and senior military command centers were all hit in that opening wave. The message from Washington and Jerusalem was unmistakable. This was not a warning shot. This was the opening move in a war designed to permanently change the power balance of the Middle East. Then came the development that shocked the entire world. Iran's Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei, was killed in an Israeli airstrike targeting his compound on February 28. By early March 1st, Iranian state media was forced to confirm his death. The man who had led the Islamic Republic for over 3 decades, who had positioned himself as the unbreakable wall of Iranian resistance against Western and Israeli power, was gone. Also killed in the same strike were members of his immediate family, including his daughter, son-in-law, grandchild, and daughter-in-law. The assassination of a sitting supreme leader sent shockwaves not just through Tehran, but through every capital on earth. Iran's response was immediate and devastating. Iranian military sources revealed that since February 28th, Iran has fired over 500 ballistic and naval missiles and launched close to 2,000 drones. Of those strikes, approximately 40% were directed at Israel and 60% were aimed at American military positions across the region. U.S. bases in Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, and Qatar all came under direct Iranian missile fire. Britain's Akrotiri military base on Cyprus was struck by an Iranian drone. Missiles were shot down over Turkey. 2 ballistic missiles were even reportedly launched toward the Diego Garcia military base in the British Indian Ocean territory. Inside Israel, the scale of the Iranian assault has been staggering. International media reported that a total of 78,109 air raid sirens warning of incoming missile, rocket, and drone attacks have sounded across Israel since February 28th, nearly 8,000 sirens in just over 1 month. The deadliest single Iranian strike hit a residential neighborhood in Beit Shemesh on March 1st, killing 9 Israeli civilians. A missile struck a building in Tel Aviv, killing 1 person and injuring dozens more. The warning sirens failed to sound in time, giving residents no chance to reach shelter. Since the war began, 15 Israeli civilians and foreign nationals have been killed by Iranian ballistic missiles on Israeli soil. International rights organizations raised serious alarms about Iran's use of cluster munitions, weapons that scatter dozens of explosive warheads across a wide radius and are banned by international treaty for over 100 nations. Iran is not a signatory to that treaty, and the weapons have been landing in residential areas. Human rights experts described this as a clear and deliberate violation of international humanitarian law. On the ground inside Iran, the military and civilian damage from the joint U.S.-Israeli campaign has been enormous. Washington Post satellite image analysis conducted by independent experts found that 4 of Iran's key ballistic missile manufacturing facilities and at least 29 ballistic missile launch sites were severely damaged in just the first 4 weeks of the offensive. A sustained pressure campaign has worked. By the 10th day of the war, Iranian missile and drone attacks against Israel had already dropped by more than 90% compared to the opening days of the conflict. U.S. and Israeli forces had worked systematically to eliminate as many as 3/4 of Iran's active missile launchers, including those that had been rebuilt after previous rounds of fighting in 2025. But do not mistake a reduction in missile launches for the end of this war. Iran is still striking, and the targets it is now choosing are sending a new and deeply alarming signal to the world. Here is the breaking development as of today, April 1st, 2026. Iran fired 3 missiles at an oil tanker off the coast of Qatar. Qatar's defense ministry confirmed that one of those missiles struck the vessel inside Qatar's territorial waters. No casualties have been reported at this time, but the strike on a civilian oil tanker inside another nation's territorial waters is an act of aggression with massive international consequences. And that is not the most alarming news of this morning. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has issued a direct threat to 17 major American technology companies, naming Apple, Microsoft, Google, Meta, IBM, Hewlett-Packard, Intel, and Tesla among the targets. The IRGC stated that starting from 8 p.m. Tehran time on April 1st, these companies should expect the destruction of their regional facilities if Iranian leaders continue to be killed. This is an extraordinary escalation. Iran is now threatening some of the largest corporations on Earth, companies with offices, research centers, and campuses across the Gulf region. It is a threat designed to internationalize the economic pressure, dragging the global technology sector directly into a military conflict. The economic damage is already being felt by ordinary people worldwide. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway through which roughly 20% of the world's oil and natural gas flows every single day, has been effectively closed for over a month. Before this war began, approximately 130 ships a day passed through the strait. Today, fewer than 6 ships are transiting daily in direct coordination with Iranian authorities. The head of Abu Dhabi State Oil Company described Iran's stranglehold over Hormuz as economic terror, meaning publicly that when Iran holds Hormuz hostage, every nation pays the ransom at the gas pump, at the grocery store, and at the pharmacy. The numbers are devastating. Average petrol prices in the United States have hit $4 a gallon, the highest level since 2022. The Philippines declared a state of emergency over energy shortages triggered by the war, with officials warning the country had only 40 to 45 days of petroleum supply remaining. The 32 members of the International Energy Agency released 400 million barrels of emergency oil reserves in an attempt to stabilize global prices. Airlines across the region continue to cancel flights. Oman Air announced cancellations to numerous countries through April 15th. Insurance rates for ships attempting to enter the Persian Gulf have skyrocketed. The economic shockwaves from this war are touching every nation on Earth, including ones that have nothing to do with the conflict itself. Now here's where the situation stands diplomatically, because there is a countdown clock running that everyone needs to understand. President Trump has set a critical deadline. He initially threatened to destroy Iran's power plants, oil wells, and key industrial facilities if the Strait of Hormuz was not reopened. Iran requested more time. Trump agreed to pause that threat until April 6th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That deadline is now days away. Trump has stated publicly that talks with Iran are going very well. His special envoy presented Iran with a 15-point peace proposal through Pakistan, which is acting as a mediator between Washington and Tehran. Turkey and Egypt are also supporting mediation efforts. However, Iran's foreign minister stated clearly that Iran is not currently in negotiations with the United States, describing only limited contact and messages. Iran has countered with 5 demands of its own, including war repair, tensions for damage caused by U.S. and Israeli strikes, and Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Those 5 conditions are considered essentially unacceptable to the White House. Meanwhile, Trump told reporters on Tuesday that gas prices will fall quickly once the United States completes its operation in Iran. He also confirmed that taking control of Iran's oil infrastructure is an option under discussion, though he declined to say more. An Iranian ground forces commander responded directly, vowing that every inch of Iranian territory is being defended with full military readiness and that any invasion would be met with unwavering resistance. The conflict has also drawn in unexpected players. Britain's defense chief stated that UK intelligence has confirmed Russia provided both intelligence and training support to Iran before the war began, describing what he called the hidden hand of Vladimir Putin behind Iran's war effort. Multiple senior sources have corroborated this assessment. Russia and China have both blocked UN Security Council resolutions that would endorse the US and Israeli military campaign. The geopolitical lines being drawn in this war are not just about Iran. They are about the shape of the global order for the next generation. Hezbollah in Lebanon has also entered the fight. The Israeli Air Force has continued launching waves of strikes against Hezbollah infrastructure in Beirut. An Israeli soldier was killed in Lebanon in a Hezbollah attack. The 2026 Lebanon war, which has now killed more than 1,000 militants and civilians combined, is running in parallel to the war with Iran. Iran-backed Houthi forces in Yemen have also entered the conflict directly, firing missiles at Israel as of late March. Inside Iran, the political landscape is being reshaped in real time. Following the death of Supreme Leader Khamenei, his son Mojtaba Khamenei has emerged as the new Supreme Leader, according to Iranian state media. The country that launched this war sought regime change. Whether the new leadership in Tehran will approach the April 6th deadline differently than its predecessor remains the single most important question in the world right now. Here is the absolute bottom line. This is day 32 of an active war between Iran, the United States, and Israel. Over 1,900 people have been killed in Iran, according to international media reports. 15 Israeli civilians are dead. American military bases have been directly struck. Oil tankers are being hit in Gulf waters today. Tech giants are under direct threat. The Strait of Hormuz remains choked. A diplomatic deadline expires in days. And Trump has made clear that if no deal is reached, the next phase of American military action will be, in his own words, not pretty. The world is watching this crisis with a mixture of alarm and desperate hope that the right decision will be made before this war expands into something that truly cannot be contained. Every decision made in the next 72 hours in Washington, Jerusalem, and Tehran will shape the course of this region for decades. Share this update with someone who needs to understand what is really happening. Subscribe right now so you do not miss a single development. This story is far from over. The next chapter begins on April 6th. We will be here when it does.